Hey guys, this is our guidelines video. So we want to clarify with everybody who will be serving in the student ministry. We want to clarify what our rules and regulations are as far as relating to students, spending time with them, because we do, above all things, we want to make sure that we protect you in the ministry. We want to protect the ministry, and we want to protect the students. So one of the things that we want to do is we want to eliminate any room for accusation. So we want to be above reproach. We want to make sure that there are no rumors that begin to spread that cause any kind of doubt for your leadership, our leadership, and any doubt of the safety of the students. So we want to make sure that our parents feel safe about having their children in the student ministry, and that they ultimately will feel like they can open up and be safe here with our leaders, and that produces an even greater sense of community within the student ministry. So a few things that we want to walk through, and this is very serious. I have in my experience had to ask many people to step down from serving within student ministry because they have violated on multiple occasions these rules. So that's why this is so important, because if there's even a hint of some kind of scandal, that hint can turn into a rumor, and that rumor can turn into gossip that spreads and becomes damaging to the ministry. So we want to protect you in the ministry, but we want to make sure that we give you clear rules and guidelines. So a few of those things that have been provided in your student ministry handbook are some of these things. Never counsel with a student of the opposite sex alone, and even in public. We don't want, we always have the resource of having solid women and men in our church that you can refer people to if they start to share with you intimate details. You can have friendships with students of the opposite sex, but there needs to be major boundaries that happen there, especially, we're going to get into this in a minute, but boundaries as far as the way you communicate over the phone, texting, social media, stuff like that. But no counseling with a student of the opposite sex. Never be alone with a student of either sex. And by alone, we mean behind closed doors, in a private setting, at your home. We even say in your car, and even with the car situation, that's something that we want you to have a clear communication with the parent. If you go pick a student up from school to help a parent out or something like that, just make sure the parent knows where you're going, that you're going to be picking up, be in communication with the parent about what you're doing, and have them where they need to go in the time frame that you're going to have them go. Be there. So we are excited for you guys to have parties and things like that at your house, but those parties, there must be 2 leaders at your house and multiple students. So, and we want you to go above and beyond on this. So even if it's an occasion where a student shows up and they're alone, you ask a parent to stick around because John said the rules are that I cannot be alone at my house with a student. Even you alone with 2 students, that is unacceptable. There needs to be a second leader, adult, present with you that has been approved by the student ministry, that is part of that activity. Okay, so don't bring your sketchy friends to a student party that you're not sure about your friends and their behavior with other students, other minors. We want it to be an approved person that has gone through background check, application, all of that stuff, that attends those parties with you. So we just want to make sure there are 2 people at your house whenever you have get-togethers and things like that. Never text a student of the opposite sex late at night. Even if it's during the day, please just proceed with caution. This is one of those things where we want you to be wise. There are certain topics that you get into, and there's no accountability. It's just you and him communicating on a closed line. And we just want to be careful and cautious, and especially with students of the opposite sex. There should be really no reason for you to be texting back and forth with someone of the opposite sex. Now, if a student texts you and says, "Here's the situation," or if a student texts you and they say, "Hey, what time is worship service tomorrow night?" You respond, "It's at 6:30. That's it. Like those kinds of things are fine. Like if it's business as usual kind of stuff, that's fine. But we just want to make sure that, especially time of day and stuff like that, more intimate things and more confidence is shown via text message. So don't text students of the opposite sex late at night, and don't text about anything intimate with them. You can refer them to somebody. We have plenty, like I said, plenty of leaders that can help you in those cases. And then social media, of course. This is one of the most dangerous aspects of ministry because social media can be very secretive, and it can also be one of those things where you follow students and you like some of their photos, things like that. Especially like if a guy that's in college is liking the photos of a female student, that kind of thing can be misconstrued. That can be taken the wrong way. And so just use your wisdom in this. Make sure that you are being diligent about what you're communicating with your actions. And so just protect yourself. If you need to unfollow somebody that you think, I probably shouldn't be following this person, then unfollow them. If you shouldn't be perusing someone's profile that you shouldn't be perusing, then don't peruse that profile. Like, just go above and beyond with this to make sure that you're protecting yourself and the students. The other thing is students, when they confess, which we just talked about a few minutes ago, make sure that you don't give them some guarantee of confidentiality, because if you give them that guarantee and then they share with you something that involves abuse, life-threatening situation, criminal activity, suicide, things like that, then there's no guarantee, because that involves the safety of our student. That involves the law. It involves a lot of different things. And so we want to make sure that you don't guarantee that, because you'll have to say, hey, I'm actually supposed to go share this with John, and we need to go talk to John. And we can talk more details about what that should look like in another time. If one of these things comes up, obviously, we want you to come directly to us, communicate with us clearly, and we want to eliminate one thing that is and can be an issue within the student ministry is gossip and rumors that go around. And what happens is then the student pastor is the last person to hear about this rumor about a person within the church that's a scandal or something going on. And if there's a problem, come talk to us. We are a safe place. We don't broadcast that. We don't go talk to 20 people about it. We want to make sure that we are clear in these aspects. Of protecting you and protecting the students. So the next thing is just in your personal life, on your own social media, be wise in how you use your social media. That is public for everybody, which is obvious. But one of the things is what you post on your social media is seen by our students. So if you're posting something that is semi-inappropriate, maybe kind of edgy, we just want you to be careful, because that can send a particular message to your students that maybe you don't realize you're communicating. So just be careful and cautious in that. It is not permissible to live with a boyfriend, girlfriend, fiance, or member of the opposite sex. We want to make sure that we portray what it looks like to protect ourselves from falling into sexual temptation. And this is one way, and it's one of those guidelines that is very reasonable. Be above reproach in your day-to-day personal life. Think about how students would view certain activities you might think are quote-unquote okay. I think there's wisdom in that, but anyway, we can talk more about details of that. A few random frequently asked questions that we get is, and answers to those frequently asked questions, is avoid excessive physical contact with students. High five, side hug is great. But again, use wisdom. There's wisdom there, but there's certain things that you just know. If a leader or if an adult parent saw this happening, they might have a little bit of a question in their head of why this is happening. So especially with students of the opposite sex, you want to be so cautious with this stuff. High five, side hug, great. But students, girls especially, can get very uncomfortable with guy leaders coming up and trying to give like a full-on hug. So you want to be really careful about that. Never sleep in the same bed as a student. That's pretty self-explanatory. Do not break laws or encourage students to do so. Vandalism, rolling houses, okay, especially mine. but please avoid playing inappropriate music or movies with students. Now, with this, again, that means that if you're going to have a movie night, you need to get that movie approved by every parent of that student that's coming over. You need to make sure that it is okay with that parent that they are viewing this film, because I can't tell you how many phone calls I've received from parents who were frustrated and angry because their student saw a movie that they were forbidden to see, and it was shown by one of our student leader volunteers. And so that just doesn't help, and then the parents lose trust in us and in the ministry. Do not watch movies without parent consent. I already said that. It's not permissible to date or go on a date with any student, no matter which age group you work with. That includes telling a student that you will wait for them to graduate. Okay, so that's like a classic line, and this is one of those situations that we want to be above reproach, because what will happen is imagine a world where we say it is okay for our leaders to date our students. Now, that word student could mean a 6th grader, and that word leader could mean a 25-year-old adult. So you just want to be very clear about this, because it could be a 19-year-old college leader and an 18-year-old senior student, but the perception of that is not that. People see that it is a leader dating a student. That's all they hear. That's the rumor they hear. Now, there are certain cases, and we're making this a rule and a policy here, that if students are dating in high school and one of them is older than the other and they graduate, that's still okay. And they'll be able to serve in the student ministry, and we will just make that clear that they were already dating in high school, and so they're just continuing on. So we're not going to make a big deal out of that, so no big deal. But again, so we just want to prevent rumors, gossip, things like that from happening, and we also want to prevent any kind of misconstrued actions to occur. So read through your handbook. Make sure you read through the details of all the guidelines and stuff with relationships with students and things like that, and how we're going to relate well to them and protect them, keep you safe, and keep them safe. So, thank you.